What do you guys think about Drake London now with Kirk Cousins landing in Atlanta?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. There's a lot that goes.
What do we think here?
There's a lot that goes into that, right? Because at least for me, he's been kind of like on that fringe tier of this young elite like wide receiver that hasn't truly developed into much. So, I think the news for me at least has maybe elevated him a bit in my mind. Dan, what's been your take on just like the Drake London kind of saga throughout his past couple seasons?
Yeah, like the first couple seasons weren't like great in terms of like the production and the stat line, but it seems like the efficiency was there. Just the problem was they weren't passing the ball a lot, and it wasn't a good situation with Arthur Smith and the quarterback play and that type of thing. But I think, I think there were good signs that, he's a good NFL wide receiver. And so I think his value has gone up for good reason now with Kirk Cousins coming in there, assuming he's healthy, which, we're hoping and assuming he is. So, the value has gone up. And so the question is, have you missed your window to, buy him at a good price now? Because now he costs a lot more. So certainly it's going to vary depending on the manager that you're trying to get London from, and your league and settings and all that kind of stuff. I think it just kind of depends. But I think if you can get him for a reasonable price, I would certainly consider buying him. It's still possible that he's still on the way up. You know what I mean? So kind of buying that guy, even if you've missed the buy low opportunity, it can still be good to kind of buy a guy on the way up.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to be a little late. Like, with the market though, like with where he was going in startup drafts, it's somewhere in that early fourth round. Like he didn't drop after that season of being basically useless in fantasy. And I think it's just because everyone knows that Drake London's a good player. Like you don't have to convince
anyone. And the draft capital, right? Getting drafted 8th overall and having this nice big body, right? We're not like talking about
a small
frame. Blake, when you think about Drake London right now today, would you say you're more on like the selling side or like buying side? And do you have anything have you had anything go down with him lately?
Yeah, depends on the price, man, because, I think, and I like to think about things in startup picks, but I think he was floating around that, like, around where you would take Diontae, 106, 107, and immediately after Kirk Cousins, for me, like, I'm willing to trade off, like, 105 or Drake London, but I'm looking to get something back before the market kind of adjusts, because this is, like, the classic, and if anyone that plays best ball on like, an underdog, there's no way Drake London's not going to be like a top 16 pick in like underdog. Like he's just going to naturally end up there. The market's it's going to adjust kind of like it was with Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, right? It's the exact same scenario. And so with me, like Kirk Cousins is like the most hated and loved quarterback. He's going to be awesome for London. There's like virtually no competition. Like Pitts is Pitts, but he's going to be awesome too.
Darnell Mooney, man. Some targets.
Exactly. Like if you can catch a manager that's not adjusted properly about Kirk Cousins, and like I think in my opinion that's what I did in this trade will pop up here. Dan was kind of helping me kind of figure out my feelings on this. Basically I had the 105, and I had an owner that was trying to sell Drake London, and initially I thought the price would be too steep. Like he wouldn't want the 105. Turns out I sent the 105 for Drake London and the 206 back. So we did a little bit of cooking and maybe a little bit of mind games, and I'm very happy with that. For me, let's just say it's neighbors. There's absolutely neighbors can be like, we don't know anything about where he's going and anything. So, that pick of the 105s like keeps you very flexible between what you want to do with it. To me, getting that 206 back still keeps me flexible for the context of my league. And I get a guy that I think is going to just keep pushing up people's boards in Drake London.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you could look back on this and let's say it is neighbors. Let's just mind exercise here. Let's say that first pick materializes in neighbors or Diontae. Doesn't matter. Yeah. If their point per game is relatively close, then that second, if you even just sit and pick at that second, that player is just kind of like cake, right? You're just piling on. Dan, I know you are like a trading fanatic. Is this a deal where you're kind of looking at this and really liking the process behind it, or is this a deal where you maybe like to take the 105 here?
Yeah, I mean, the only tough thing about it is, I hold on to my draft picks pretty tightly during the offseason, especially having a 105, because like I know that's just going to be like gold once I'm on the clock with that pick. And you're in the rookie draft, and everyone has rookie fever, and they're throwing all kinds of packages at you trying to get that pick. So that would be my only hesitation with something like that. Okay. So that's why I might not give up the 105 for Drake London straight up, but you're offering me a 206 on top of it and a really deep draft with a lot of good wide receivers in it, and I feel like I can get a pretty good player there. And so I don't even lose a pick. I just gotta obviously down tier it, pretty significantly. But
it's a pretty good spot.
Yeah, exactly. So
usually it's like in this spot you're kind of like downgrading like this 105 into lower assets, but realistically, London could be like the best asset in this trade. We don't know right now.
Yeah,
exactly. We've seen crazier things with Neighbors going to be a baller, but like we don't know what's going to happen. Nothing's for certain, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close between like do you want like more of the sure thing of Drake London and he's probably ready to go and produce right now versus kind of the mystery box of a rookie. And so you could say it's kind of even, maybe the tiebreaker is the liquidity of the pick, but then when you get the 206, I think that seals it for me. So just getting that leverage on top, I think that's a nice deal and probably too good to pass up. That is a good deal.
And that's probably one that depends on the team dynamic.
Exactly. That's what I want to chip in here. Sorry, let me just take over.
Please do.
This is a league. This is not a league that the startup just happened. This is an orphan team where I had my only asset going into the season was Jahan Dotson. Like that was it. I just had picks, and now I'm sitting on a bunch of just stud receivers like Puka.
It's about to be in.
And like bunch of future picks. The 102 and 103 still. Like that's another big thing. I still have the 102 and 103.
Wow. Good job.
So, like with that considered, knowing your league is I think the most important thing for like a trade like this. The teams that are competing don't have any ammunition to trade up for the 105, and I highly doubt they would trade because I know Neighbors is not going to be there for the 105. Like for context, the guy with the 104 is I would bet my life that he takes Neighbors at 104. It doesn't matter what's going to happen in the draft. Like he has more than enough quarterbacks that he's been trying to sell them to me.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I want to give him a quarterback in the draft. I want to basically potentially force him to take one, making trades. Just it's now a possibility. I can then buy a quarterback cheaper. But also with that, like I was already considering taking Neighbors at the 103. Again, I'm just speculating. But given the flexibility of that 206, it made it a no-brainer for me.
Smash.
Knowing that the 105 is a pick that was going to be very in this league, I suspected much less desire for it than in other leagues.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That's a great job of realizing your league that you're in. I think this player that I want to bring up before we kind of cut out here is Diontae Johnson. I know that's a name that like kind of was sexy at one point. It kind of was like the worst thing ever at one point. Target machine without touchdowns. So he's been just kind of in a situation with the Steelers and now getting traded. I think that impact, that suddenness of being traded to a different team and kind of becoming this alpha receiver, it can skew like the value. So I'm curious to hear from y'all about what does like this news do for you? Does that just scream like sell why this value is there? Or do you see like, okay, well, if I believe in the team and the quarterback, could he be that target hog? What's your perspective? Dan, I want to throw it to you.
Yeah, I like Diontae Johnson. I like that he's a guy that can command targets. That's something he's done pretty consistently throughout his career. But the situation in Pittsburgh hasn't been great lately. Not great quarterback play, not an amazing offense. Now you bring Arthur Smith in there again with Arthur Smith. So it just seems like he's kind of a drain on fantasy value. So we suffered last season. All the managers out there that own Kyle Pitts and Drake London and even Bijan Robinson. It was a rough year. So I'm kind of glad to see Diontae Johnson out of Pittsburgh and just get a fresh start somewhere. Yeah. At least for the moment, he's the clear number one receiver on that offense. And I think there's some hope for the offense with the some of the new coaching staff that they're bringing into Carolina.
True.
So I'm optimistic that Bryce Young has a chance to take a step forward in the second year.
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty good situation. So I really think it depends on the manager. There might be some kind of, variety of opinions when it comes to Diontae Johnson and the landing spot. So if I get a manager that isn't so sure about Carolina, definitely doesn't sound very sexy, then I think I could be buying if I'm a contender. But if I have to kind of pay the tax of, he just signed somewhere new, then I'm fine, staying away for the moment, and I'll just hold my Diontae Johnson shares that I have.
What would you guys pay? Just give me a pick, like in 2024 draft right now. What would you pay for Diontae Johnson, like neutral team? He can make your starting lineup or be a flex or something.
If I'm buying, like what pick would I give up for him?
Just a straight up second round pick.
I mean, are we talking just kind of like a standard league, like 12 teams? Let's say start 10,
12
super
teams,
flex.
start 10.
Yeah.
Yep. What would you give out for him?
I think what I would give out for him is probably not what the market would demand right now. I think I probably would. I think I'd feel okay with like one of those early mid seconds, but I think it would cost more.
Like a 204 or something.
Yeah, like a 204. It's like, what have I done to get to the 204? And I'm probably like,
you know what you're getting. You think you know what you're getting over that.
Instead of who knows. I mean, for the most part, like this rookie draft is a kind of chalky top, like 7-ish. So it's like you can kind of speculate them on the draft about deep receiver class, but it's again that whole back and forth of dynasty of a known asset versus that unknown, but the unknown also offers that flexibility. So I think that would be it for me. I think the market would probably try to squeeze like a really late first, like an early second. I haven't seen any deals with them. Have y'all seen any deals with them?
No, but we tried to trade. Me and Dan and our co-commission, we did try to hop on into a trade. The manager was not interested. I have actually tried to trade for him in 3 or 4 leagues just to see, because my initial opinion was that people are not going to like Carolina. Like, that's what I thought people would think. Yeah. And I personally loved it, just being that he's going to be like, I know Diontae Johnson's a baller. I know that the reception, he's going to be open, and he's going to be the only target in Carolina. But everyone else also is on that train, it seems, like at least in my leagues. So
people are too smart. You gotta wait till close in the season, because everyone that's tapped into Dynasty right now, like they're wizards, right? So
yeah, exactly. Like I'd agree if I was really needing, like if I just had a 204 this year and I really needed to make a move, then I could be comfortable coughing it up if I really Diontae Johnson I thought was going to be a baller. The problem with Diontae is I think that if you have him and he's not going to be like, you're not going to be relying him on your lineup, he's not going to go up in value. Like he could be basically a wide receiver 1, if like a fringe. We just saw Christian Kirk do it like about a year ago, like whatever, 2022. Yep. He was a wide receiver 1. I couldn't get a first for him. Like he's like 26 years old. And all it took was Calvin Ridley to sign there, and people thought he was just going to lose half his targets. Yeah. That's just how the market seems to react in a player like Diontae Johnson's like 28, going to be 29 maybe next year. So that's my opinion is know your league and see, just kind of address
for sure.
See if anyone wants to buy him if you got him, first of all, for an early second.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add here about Diontae Johnson, of course, it's easy to talk about his value in terms of like, rookie picks in 24. But a better way that I would love to trade for him is, rather than giving up draft picks, especially 24 draft picks, can I give up some current players that I have on my roster? Because that's something I like to do this time of year anyways, is I got to clear some room to make room for the rookies. And so I'm always trying to, this time of year, look to clear out some of the excess on my roster. So I just pulled up, this is a new orphan that I took over recently. And looking at my starting lineup here, I got Jamison Williams in there. I got Treylon Burks. I got Jalen Hyatt. Can I package 2 or 3 of these guys and, heck, I'll throw in a late pick or something and get Diontae Johnson? Like, that sounds a lot better than paying an early second or late first this year. So definitely take a look on at your rosters and make sure that maybe you got someone out there that still believes in Jamison Williams or, some of these other
There's got to be one guy. There's got to be one guy in your league.
Exactly.
And I think that is probably the best way to go about it for buying. a Diontae Johnson because you're not going to get anything for Jameson Williams straight up. You're not going to get. Trust me. I have Traylon Burks in one league. I couldn't add to Burks to get Curtis Samuel. Like it's impossible to get rid of Burks. If someone is going to be a sucker and just sucking all these receivers that have been so inefficient, just go in and get Diontae Johnson. Like we know what he'll be.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not going to be an asset that's going to be rising, but he can definitely be an asset to your lineup.
Well, yeah, and that's okay because I don't suspect that Jameson Williams or Treylon Burks are going to be rising anytime soon. I mean, give it a 10% chance or something like that, but I'll let someone else have that upside, and I'll take the surefire production of Diontae Johnson, even if he dies on my roster in a few years. But I got a few good years of production out of him, so I'll gladly take that.
Yeah, and real, I was taking a look at Keep Trade Cut. Diggs is like, this is what's so interesting about Keep Trade Cut is that some players rise or drop so just like out of this world. I don't understand it. How that algorithm really works.
Mm-hmm.
It has him right below Stephon Diggs right now. Like, what would you take to go from Diggs to Diontae Johnson, like the down tier in a trade?
Yeah, I mean, that really doesn't sound like that bad of a down tier to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly, yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to Diggs, who's been amazing and could continue to be so. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if – I mean, there's certainly a world in which Diontae Johnson outscores Stephon Diggs next year. So I think I think that's the perfect down tier type of trade. I would do that in a heartbeat. I mean, I wouldn't even need that much on top of Diontae Johnson.
Just a DeMarcus Robinson or Greg Dortch?
Yeah, just one of my old crusty sleepers that I love. Noah Brown, Kendrick Bourne. But yeah, in all seriousness, I'd probably want a little more than that. I'd probably want a draft pick if I could get it. So yeah, exactly. I mean, definitely if you're offering me Diontae Johnson in a second, I mean, I think I'm smashing that. I mean, what do you think?
I'm smashing that.
Yeah.
I'm smashing that, no doubt. Even if it's like an early third in this class, like I feel like that's still a no-brainer for me. And you get a little bit of that age downgrade. I don't really care about that too much. I think they can produce pretty similarly going forward. But.
Well, yeah, but I think you can be a little more confident that like Diontae Johnson. I mean, I feel pretty good. I'm going to get like 3 more years from him. Whereas with Stephon Diggs, I'm like, I'm hoping I get 1 more great year out of him, and then like after that, I'm not exactly sure. So. I kind of feel like, especially if you're kind of like looking at Dynasty, a lot of people tend to say like, okay, don't look too far ahead, look at it in like 2 to 3 year windows, which I think is pretty solid advice because you just never know when a league is going to, fold up. I mean, it does depend on the league though. If you're confident that it's going to be, if it's a long-standing league, then you could be maybe looking ahead more, but let's just say looking at it in like kind of 2 to 3 years ahead, I think Diontae Johnson will score more fantasy points over the next 3 years than Stephon Diggs. What do you think? Agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. And I'm not exactly sure on the 30-point whatever for Diggs. Maybe he's 31 now. But
yeah,
I think it's once you're around that 32, it's been shown it doesn't really matter who you are, Julio Jones, like you're probably going to drop off a cliff. Maybe Adam Thielen's like the outlier on that for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, some of the better receivers are definitely good into their early 30s. But yeah, I kind of feel like 30 is sort of that number where it's just kind of like, yeah, you're kind of you're on thin ice now.
Yeah, no, exactly. And not that Diontae will increase in value, but he can definitely maintain his value if he puts up some solid seasons, like just being a wide receiver too, which is I think what we kind of expect him to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I think the advice here is, take a look at your rosters this time of year and find those Jameson Williams and Treylon Burks and, package them up and, spam out some offers. Like, heck, send the both of them and try to get a Diontae Johnson or, some kind of, older, boring receiver that's going to be productive that, maybe people aren't crazy about right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think you've changed my mind on that, seeing some trades you've done and I think that's the new way to go here for me in the off season is try to pull some trades off like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hope you guys enjoyed the conversation here. Andrew had to go earlier, but we'll be back shortly.
Yeah.
With, another video.
Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.